Good morning. It is Monday, January the 8th, 2024. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is the Monday Morning Report. Well, first, thanks for the kind feedback on the poetry. Recently, I've been publishing on the Substack channel and the article, Enter the Age of the Lotus. Some very kind words were emailed to me on that. That's always appreciated. And also, thanks especially for the commentary on the photo that was used to illustrate the story. To answer a couple of questions, yes, it was taken back in 2011, but it was not done in the Far East. I took that shot at a botanical garden in Delaware. During the summer of that year, it was on a family outing. And one interesting question, which leads me into the next subject, is what does it take? What do you have to do to take photos of bees landing on flowers? What does it take? Well, one thing, patience. There's a lot to it, but might go into another explanation at a later time. Here's why. Regarding photography, and this is something that people have been nagging me about for a while, yes, I am still considering an online course in the subject. I've been studying it since I was about 10 years old. I did a few rudimentary lectures to some interested parties last year with some results, but that will require, for me to do this, that will require people who are serious about learning it as an art form and willing to pay a reasonable tuition fee. Time is limited and one needs to be paid for it. It is the way of things. So if you are interested in such a photography course being offered and you're serious about it, you can email me at email address feedback@aureliancolumn.com, feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's where all the communication to this channel goes. And we'll take it from there. We'll see what happens. Now, there are more questions I've received, but they will be dealt with in a special Q&A report. I haven't done one of those so much for a while, but I may get to it later this week. Now for the news. Well, as is not unexpected, things are not looking good in what has become the unholy land. Israel is not content with doing what it's doing in Gaza, but has now taken on its long-standing adversaries in South Lebanon. There have also been some mysterious explosions in Iran, which I doubt is a coincidence. If this thing gets worse and blows up into something really awful, it's not because all those countries in the Middle East are particularly fond of the Palestinians. It's because the Israeli and U.S. governments are pushing this thing way too far, and everything has limits as to how far it can be pushed. One thing I've noticed that's not getting much attention in the legacy media are all the members of the Jewish communities around the world who do not like what the Israeli government is doing and are quite vocal about it. Vocal or not, they're not getting much airplay. I wonder why. Something that needs to be looked into for sure. In other news, with the election year of 2024 underway, we here in the United States are looking with some concern to the election that will be held in November. It's so painfully obvious that the political opposition to former President Trump and the populist America First movement that he represents, it's so obvious that it's orchestrated by the Democrats, the rhinos, and other leftist Marxist elements currently running the country. It's obvious they're going to do anything legal, illegal, or immoral to stop the man from ever being elected president again or being elected to anything again. I could do an entire special report on this alone, and I probably will, but people do need to wake up to this reality. You see, the institutions of the United States are being attacked and destroyed. There's no other way to put it. The institutions, not just the stuffed shirts that are often at the head of things, but the structure of the government and the country itself is being disassembled. And without that, the U.S. is not going to survive. It was said that the United States was a system put together by geniuses so that idiots wouldn't screw it up. Well, I have some news for our founding fathers who are long gone. They're screwing it up. And this is something that we really have to be very careful with, folks. Now, for those of you overseas who don't know what the word rhino means, you're going to be hearing that a lot this year. The word rhino, in reference to American politics, is an acronym for Republican in name only. Basically, a member of the Republican Party that does not share in its traditional values. Often people will take on political affiliations for purely election reasons. There's been very liberal Republicans for a very long time. I come from a state, Connecticut, where back in the 1970s we had a governor named Lowell Weicker, who was a Republican, but he wasn't anything but what you'd expect. So this is not uncommon, nor is it without precedent. So you really just see people along ideological lines that really do not have any political affiliation anymore. Anyways, it's going to be an interesting year. Now, the January 6th anniversary came and thankfully went. The lies and misrepresentations of that day back in 2021 have yet to be fleshed out by honest historians and probably won't be for some time. The opinions people have on what happened and didn't happen on that day are yet another example of how divided things are in this country, with no signs of things getting better. Nobody's looking to... Again, it's the problem of asking people what do they think about something and asking them how they feel about something. People don't look at things intellectually these days. They're asked how they feel about them. So if you ask, what do you think happened on January 6th, as opposed to how do you feel about what happened, you're going to get two very, very different answers with very, very different outcomes. So, what's next here is artificial intelligence. Yep. The story that we need to watch and worry about, if you don't have enough to worry about, America, is AI, artificial intelligence. Now, I sent out a link to all my subscribers last week regarding the level of smarts those monstrosities have already achieved. You can tell what my view is on the technology already, and I doubt it's going to change. You're going to be hearing a new term more and more in the coming year, and it's artificial general intelligence, AGI. Now, that is supposed to refer to systems that have gotten to the point of doing their own thing in terms of research without being instructed by a human to go ahead and learn something. In other words, they're just twiddling their thumbs and says, why don't I study biology? Why don't I study mathematics? Why don't I study nuclear physics or ballistic missiles or who knows what? And we are already there. These things are starting to do that, and it's surprising some of the engineers that are working with them. Please follow that situation closely, people, for it's the biggest danger we've ever faced. And I think that over time I'm going to be proven right with that. Now, there are many, many stories that people need to watch, things that matter, especially pertaining to food production and energy I would like to be covering. But the time I allocate for this Monday morning report is too short, and doing an hour-long production once a week would be both time-consuming, and there are already too many obscenely long podcasts out there. So I'm going to take a different approach. I'm still going to continue this report, but as stories come along of interest, a brief 1 or 2 minute report could be put together and sent out relatively quickly and with little fuss. I learned back when I was a radio correspondent that you can pretty much tell any story in 1 minute or less, so might as well use that skill set. It all depends on time, and as I mentioned earlier, time is money. It will depend on how many paying subscribers I have, and there will be some special reports only for those people that have actually contributed. But I've been working at this since March of last year, and I'm very encouraged by the reaction I've gotten, the response. So I'm going to keep it going as best I can. That being said, thank you for listening and supporting this channel. If you like what you hear or find it useful, please like and subscribe. Pass the link on to others and get them to subscribe. And if you can, please consider a paid subscription or a donation. It would free up my time to put together a more extensive news gathering and reporting operation in the coming year, and I think that's going to be needed. Feedback is always welcome, and I can be reached at the email address feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's one word, feedback@aureliancolumn.com. Until my next report, be good, be safe, be observant, and good day.